24 hours ago, it was hard to imagine all the hype surrounding the Bills could get any hotter. Then they kicked off in Los Angeles and spent the next 3 hours making the defending Super Bowl champs look like anything but. Josh Allen threw for 3 touchdowns last night. He ran for another. Von Miller had 2 of the defense's 7 total sacks as the Bills shut out the Rams entirely in the second half, the final 31-10. Winning on a night that the Super Bowl banner was raised there at SoFi Stadium. We heard from Bills head coach Sean McDermott this afternoon, who talked about how great it was having so many fans of the Bills out there in LA.
Yeah, it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. To see our players, do this, trying to get the crowd into the situation, whether it be on defense or when the offense made a big play or special teams for that matter. That's just so cool to be a part of when you're on the road and somebody else's place, in particular, the defending world champs there. So really appreciate Bills Mafia showing up there like they did.
The Bills now have another 10 days to get ready for the home opener. It will be Monday night, September 19th, a rare 7:15 start. You'll see that game right here on Channel 2. And it's easy to get hyped here in Buffalo, but we wanted to get you some national perspective on this. And so we welcome to the show right now Barry Wilner, who recently retired as the lead NFL writer for the Associated Press and is also editor at the 33rd Team website. Really great to have you on the show here. I think we all understand our own biases as Bills fans. So wondering from your perspective, as you watched this game last night, just how excited should Bills Mafia be at what we saw?
I think that the Bills Mafia should be very excited, and I think they were going into the season because Las Vegas made the Bills the favorite for the Super Bowl. And nothing we saw last night should take away from that. I will say this, it's 1 week into the season. It's a game coming off of when most teams haven't really shown anything in the preseason, haven't shown any game plans and things like that. But what the Bills came out with last night, was just monumental, really, in how they really should have won by a lot more points than they did.
Yeah, that's such a great point. When you win the Super Bowl, you get to host the kickoff to the entire season the next time around. We don't normally see the reigning champions get beat, kind of dominated like the Rams were dominated last night by the Bills. Was it more so the Bills being good or the Rams having an off night, you think?
No, I think a lot of it was the matchups, and the Bills came out with several defenses that the Rams weren't ready for, which is odd because Sean McVay, the coach of the Rams, is such an offensive mastermind. And I think that really threw off what the Rams could do on offense. Von Miller was as good as I've seen him since his prime when he was the Defensive Player of the Year and when he won a Super Bowl. I think that the Bills should be really excited about what he can offer. And, basically the 3 best players on the field, 3 of the 4 best players on the field, we have to throw Cooper Kupp in there for the Rams, with Josh Allen, Von Miller, and Stephon Diggs. And when you have a combination like that on the road, on national television, at the defending champions, it makes a big statement.
Barry, I know that 30 teams still haven't played their first game. We've seen preseason, which doesn't matter a whole lot. So, it's early on. But as you can imagine, people here in Western New York couldn't be more excited. That was the case before last night. And then you have that kind of dominant performance, and it changes everything. You've covered the NFL, and you know this really well. Is there a risk at there being so much hype and such big expectations now just going into week 2 of a season like this? And then specifically for Josh Allen, I mean, you look at Twitter, you listen to all the experts out there, and they're, just saying he seems the obvious favorite right now for league MVP.
Yeah, that's way too early to even look at. And yes, there can be some issues with getting overhyped and getting overconfident, but that's outside of the locker room mostly and outside of the facility. I think Sean McDermott is smart enough and Brandon Beane is smart enough, and I think most of the players understand that it's one game, it's a huge win, it could be a trendsetter, but you have to be very careful on making it more than one win. And that's another good reason to have a person like Von Miller on hand, that some of the veterans that the team has, Roger Saffold will be another example of that. These are guys who won championships, and they know that you can't get ahead of yourself. And I don't think this coaching staff will allow that either.
The Bills have a pretty difficult start to the first half of the season here. Schedule gets a lot easier as you get kind of later into the season, but they've got some tough opponents coming up. I wonder how a win last night kind of sets them up over the next, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And then to put you on the spot, and I know you said it's way too early to know any of this stuff, but when you see all the analysts predicting the Bills playing in Super Bowl 57 in Arizona next February, is that the smart money for you as well?
Well, again, Las Vegas says it's smart money, and Las Vegas often knows what it's doing. I think that what you have to look at with the schedule is, remember, we're basing how we think the schedule will come down on what teams did last year or in the last few years, and things can really change. Look at the Bengals last year. No one pegged them to get to the Super Bowl. So your opponents, you really don't know what those opponents are this year. We do know that the AFC West is really strong, and when you have to play those teams, you know any of them will be good. But we don't know how good Tennessee will be in the next game, and it could be a good matchup for the Bills. As for the Super Bowl, my prediction, and again, I like to predict again in November and then as the playoffs begin, was Bills and Bucks. And I don't think that I would have seen anything yet, and I don't expect to see anything over the next few weeks that would make me go away from that.
Barry, I've got about 30 seconds left. Anything from last night that you think the team really needs to focus on now going into week 2, 3, 4? What did you see where we need to improve?
Yeah, the turnovers. That's the one thing. Like I said, that game should have been a huge rout, and it was close for a while. It was 10-10 at the half because of the turnovers. That's one thing that every team must avoid, and the Bills have to stop the turnovers, especially the deflected passes that was intercepted.
Barry Wilner edits the 33rdteam.com and recently retired from a long career reporting on the NFL for the Associated Press. Thanks so much for coming on here tonight with us. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks.
All right, let's talk about the fan experience in LA. Bills Mafia, as we mentioned, showing up in full force. In fact, if you were watching the game last night, you may have heard play-by-play announcer Mike Tirico acknowledging that there were a lot of Bills fans in the stadium. So much so it made it hard at times for Rams quarterback Matt Stafford to call plays at the line. So much for home field advantage. Our news team that flew out to California to cover the fan perspective put together this montage of what it was like to be a member of the Mafia who made this trip.
We're going to show LA how to party.
Bills Mafia travels really, really well. No matter what city you go to, I mean, there's just Bills fans.
We don't care what the temperature is. Nothing matters. We're here to party.
It's kind of like the home away from home.
Hey, 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 hey.
Hi, Mom.
The Mafia goes everywhere.
Wiggle, wiggle.
Everyone's excited for the season.
Let's go, Buffalo!
Let's go, Buffalo!
Let's go, Buffalo!
Let's go, Buffalo!
Quite a scene. While it wasn't the playoff-sized crowds that you'll sometimes see out in the cold following, huge wins, we did see some Bills fans who got up very early this morning to welcome the team back to Western New York. Let's go Buffalo chants and a beautiful sunrise, as you'll see here in the video, greeting the Bills as they exited that Delta charter jet a little after 6:15 this morning.